Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today only.
A beautiful evening to you. You're welcome to Sport Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Kinsley Emmanuel, and I'm very, very happy to be here this evening to bring you up to speed with the latest revolving around the beautiful world of sports. It's all about the 2025 AFCON qualifiers, and I tell you the qualifiers, of course, are on, and the Super Eagles of Nigeria are still getting very much ready for the weekend encounter against Benin Republic. Of course, we have a very big news. Osimhen is now in Nigeria, yet to join his teammates, of course, in Uyo. I'll be looking forward, of course, to, see him in camp very soon, or any moment from now, because, of course, the players are already getting prepared when it has to do with training. We'll take a look at the US Open. What is up for this weekend as it concerns the US Open? A lot, of course, to take a look at on the show today. I will urge you to sit tight as we, of course, will be unraveling all of this to you. We'll take a short break and we'll come back. Of course, I'll bring you all that you need to know revolving around the beautiful world of sports. Stay.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today only on ATN. From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today only on ATN.
Welcome back. See Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network, and of course, joining me to take a look at the latest this evening is Emmanuel Michael. Michael, good evening to you, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kingsley. Good evening, and good evening to our viewers out there. It's a Mazarine entry for me this evening, and I'm very excited because the camp of the Super Eagles is bubbling with the latest arrival, Victor Osimhen.
All right, Michael, before we take a look at the camp of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, we understand that the under-18 basketball team of Nigeria, they're looking forward to their next encounter on Saturday against Angola after they were defeated by Egypt 70-57 in that particular encounter. Taking a look at it, it is done and dusted in that one. What are you expecting from the team, heading down to the next game on Saturday?
I think the next game on Saturday against Angola, I expect us to at least have settled down, and prepare very well for that very one, to at least ensure that we win that very one against Angola. Don't forget the reason why it looked as though their first result was that poor, because of the fact that just less than an hour that they touched down at Pretoria, South Africa, because of the visa issue that they encountered, where the South African consulate or embassy at Abuja failed to, issue them a visa. At some point, it looked as though they were going to miss, this very one. Not for the intervention, if not for the intervention of the government and also the Nigerian Basketball Federation, in collaboration with FIBA, that actually ensured that we were able to at least get the ticket, and head there. Less than an hour before such game against a defending champion, because Egypt is a defending champion. They went into that very one, and for me, I think such a destabilization actually caused them not to focus in that very game, and that is the reason I think they lost against a defending champion, talking about Egypt. But I strongly believe that in our next game against Angola on Saturday, the boys, they are going to at least pick up, their form from that game going forward. I tell you, it would have been a very disappointing one. It's better that we even attended and lose the first game than not being there at all, because the sanction would have been even stiffer against, the team. So for me, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, hoping that at least we've learned our lesson from not preparing on time, because if we had prepared on time, get the same visa or the ticket the same time that we got the female own, because the female, they also got their own visa as well earlier before down. If we had done the needful, I think this same visa issue is not something we should be talking about, because they will process it together alongside the female counterpart, and they will jet out to Pretoria, South Africa, to settle down properly 5 days or even a week before facing the defending champion. But this one, the fire brigade approach on seriousness in terms of the management system have always been the problem, and we keep talking about this, and you look as though our administrators, they are not listening, because only in one sport, in different sporting units, so they have a lot on their desk. Not until you call to their responsibility that these are the challenges that we are facing in our own ministry as a sport, then before they can be able to take a drastic action toward correcting it. But if you keep quiet, as the primary duty is on the table of the Nigerian Basketball Federation, and they fail to notify the sport ministry of their challenge, how do you think that the sport ministry will come in? Like I said, they have about 32 different sport disciplines that they supervise over. So for me, I think the first point of blame should be to the Nigerian Basketball Federation, because if they had raised this alarm earlier to the sport ministry, I think the sport ministry would have come in and do the needful.
Don't you think the issue between Nigeria and South Africa at the moment, because we understand that the South African embassy, of course, denied the players visa, to participate in this particular under-18 Afro-Basketball Championship. It took the intervention of the Sport Ministry, FIBA, and as well the Nigerian Basketball Federation, for the visas, of course, that were given to the players to get to South Africa. So for me, I think the Sport Ministry and the NBBF, they played their role, because what happened was the fact that the South Africans South African embassy didn't want to give them visa. They denied them visa. That was the report we got.
And that is my issue. At what point did they deny the visa? Did they start processing this visa a week before? Or they just wait and think that all is well 24 hours before they should jet out? And that is why they go there and discover that the South African embassy is not ready to give us visa. If we had started preparation early, that we went to the South African embassy a week before they want to jet out of the country, and the South African authority raised this alarm or begin to play the hanky-panky game of that they don't want to grant us visa, I think by then the Ministry of Sports should have informed FIBA, and FIBA will come in and do the needful. But this one, you wait until 2 or even a day before these boys are about to travel. That is when they raise the issue. So invariably, they did not start processing the issue, the visa issue earlier. Now, if they have started earlier, what stopped them from doing that together with the female counterpart? You know, because women as well, they also jetted out to Pretoria, and there was no issue of the South African embassy denying them of visa.
A place down here in Nigeria, they can mention Choba, and the man will end up driving and looking for Choba in South Africa, burning his fuel, and won't see at the end of the day. So there have been this issue, as a stand between Nigeria and South Africa, and that's why so many persons are thinking that, okay, that could be the reason. South Africans are not happy with Nigerians looking at what has happened so far.
But even at that, there is no place of such interference in sports. Sport does not accommodate those kind of things, and that is why you see that FIFA comes hard against any country, or even not just FIFA, but any other sport organization. Just like they concluded Paris Olympic Games, you saw that the likes of Russia and Ukraine, they were barred from not hoisting their flag in the Paris Olympic Games just because of the political tussle, the issue that is brewing between Russia and Ukraine. So in terms of sport, you don't bring in those kind of things into sport. It's a different platform altogether, because sport is about unification. We use sport as a tool to unite the world. And if you actually listen to the theme message of this year's Paris Olympic Games, it's about uniting the world. It's about bringing peace. It's about bringing harmony, to the world. And that is what sport represents. So whatever the case may be between South Africa and Nigeria, I think that South Africa is going too far away from the game, because like I said, sport is the only uniting factor that brings people together. In fact, you use sport as a tool, to restore peace. We saw what Didier Drogba did with the Ivory Coast side when they were, about warring between some ethnic group out there, and they were able to use it as a tool to bring peace. So for me, sport should not be enrobed with political, attachment or any other social issue out there. Sport is about using it as a tool to unite the world and bring peace instead of a division.
All right, let's see how it goes, but we have to stay away from that as we take a look at the 2024 Paris Paralympic Games. Michael, so far so good. 2 medals for Team Nigeria, as it stands. And a lot of persons are beginning to question the prowess, the knowledge of the sport minister, John Waneno. Remember, he was when he was being appointed as the sport minister, a lot of persons questioned his appointment.
Yeah.
That he has nothing to, he hasn't done anything about sports. Why bringing him in? Sunday Dare, the former sport minister, was a journalist, and some persons as well thought that he has that little bit of knowledge when he has to do with sports. But if you ask me, take a look at his reign as the sport minister, we had a little bit of an impressive that, though our Tokyo Olympic outing was abysmal for the able-bodied athletes, but at least we were able to come back home, I think, with about 2 medals in that one. The Paralympians came back with about 10. But this time, under John Waneno, our able-bodied athletes were unable to come back, with a medal. And now the para-athletes are also, for what we're seeing now, they might not even get up to 10 medal we got last time. Will you say that John Waneno, looking at the fact that he didn't actually he didn't do much when it has to do with sports, coming into at this particular position, will you say that, he's now, everything is now, coming out, looking at the fact that he doesn't really know much about sports?
Well, to some persons, that may be their line of thought, because you need a square peg in a square hole to actually get things right. While others will also think, contrary-wise. I think for me, I wouldn't actually, start wielding the big stick against him because of the fact that we went to the Paris Olympic game without delivering even a single rubber spoon, not to even talk about, silver. Then for the para-athletics, where we've always been doing well, this year seems to be a bit more, not a bit, a very serious struggle because we just have a few days before this year's Paralympic game comes to an end, and just 2 medals to show for it. One could say it's quite disappointing, but then you can't just totally, blame the sport minister and or you start questioning his administrative prowess just because he has not been in the game. He has little or no knowledge about the game itself, because looking at his background, he's someone that actually, followed very closely. He was, in fact, he's a farmer. I know one of his farms in Cross River State. So for me, I want to take a different position. For the fact that he just spent a year plus few months in office, and he saw how bad the system, was before he come in. He was trying to address so many issues that is lying on his back, and someone who has little or no knowledge about the game, but he's still able to at least do a little. He has been able to foster unity, within the sporting federation that we have right now. Since his first 90 days in office, his primary aims was just to go about to fix the broken walls, in terms of administrative, issues ranging from different sporting, strata, trying to call them together, have a roundtable meeting. What are the issues? What are the problems? If you are having issue with any, area, he tried to bring them together and address all these issues. And it takes time for him to be able to amend such fences, for us to come together in a common front and begin to chart a new course forward. And before you could say, Jack, the Olympic game is here, and you don't expect a man that is just coming into office a year, less than a year, to start that massive preparation that will help us deliver on the Olympic game. Olympic games, from investigation and from a proper research that I've done, it takes a minimum of 3 to 4 years to actually prepare very well for an Olympic game if you truly want to go out there and showcase your strength to the world. And that is why people that have taken their time to prepare properly for the Olympic game, they deliver when it matters. The likes of China, South Korea, USA, Great Britain, France, name them, Canada, they take 3-4 years plan before they could deliver and able to maintain that status that we've seen them rise over the years. But for Nigeria, a sport minister came in less than a year, and here the Olympic is. What do you expect him to do? To wind back the hand of time, to start preparing for 4 years for a competition that is already standing before us. So I won't really blame him for the lapses or for the disappointment we've seen so far in terms of the performance of our Olympic team, both the able-bodied Olympians and the Paralympians. So for me, I do not want to totally question his administrative acumen. He still have more time to learn on the job as it is. We have at least 2 or 3 years for him to learn on the job, and maybe then
learning on the job in such a crucial position,
there's nothing you can do about it. Hence, Mr. President deemed it necessary, to appoint him in that capacity. We just need to support him at this point in time. He is our own, he's our minister. He has been appointed, So the least we could do right now is to help him to succeed. And I know the man is ready to learn on the job. Taking a look at his body movement and his actions and inactions so far since he came on board, I tell you, he's one man that is truly ready to learn. But the big question is, the cronies behind the corridors of power that has been there before him, are they ready to help him achieve on the success? Because don't forget, sometimes you might be working as a head of a program or as a head of department, but there are some people behind the scene seriously and assiduously working towards, punctuating your efforts. at that point, what will you do? When you are walking, you look as though you are not walking. So I think, those that have been there before him should also help him streamline our papers so that we can get a positive result. But for me, like I said, I do not want to blame him. I want to cut him the slacks right now until he completes his 4 years in office before I have, a good ground to begin to evaluate or question his, leadership so far. All
right, let's say it goes according to Michael, who said he doesn't really want to blame John Owaneno for the poor performance that we've seen so far for the able-bodied athletes as well as the prior athletes as well. Let's see how it goes. We hope that things will get better in the coming days. But away from that, let's talk about the U.S. Open as Jack Draper breakouts run at the U.S. Open reached new heights as Brighton fought his way past Alex de Minaur to reach a first Grand Slam semi-final. The 32-year-old showed all of his youthful talents along with grit and determination to win a 6-3, 7-5, 6-2 in that particular encounter. But Michael, what do you make of it? Jack Draper into the semi-final, Yannick Sinner into the semi-final as well. Taylor Fritz and Francis Tiafoe into the semi-final. What do you make of the semi-final of the U.S. Open?
I think the ball is set for the big clash against the big name that is still left as it is right now. I think Yannick Sinner, as it is right now, will be smiling probably because of the fact that he is the highest ranked player still left in the competition as it is right now. But then you can't actually underrate the prowess of Francis Tiafoe, Taylor Fritz, and Jack Draper. These are good players any day, anytime. It's just that most time when you expect so much from them, they just, don't live up to that high expectation. But now that some of the big names, maybe like Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic has been hosted out of the competition, I think the only fear factor, standing before Francis Tiafoe, Jack Draper, Taylor Fritz right now is Yannick Sinner. And for me, Yannick Sinner, despite the whole, criticism that have surrounded him, over the last couple of weeks right now, because he failed twice a doping test where some point was deducted from him and there's some money as well. There are so many people that have started tongue-lashing him, saying that at least it's more like he's receiving an executive treatment from the, lawn tennis authority. But then this has not deterred him. It has not stopped him from continuing to fire from all cylinders. There are some players naturally that do not have that mental monstrousness or mental capacity to absorb this kind of criticism out there. They bow out of the competition very early because thinking about such a criticism, especially from renowned players in the past and even present, could even put fear and destabilize you mentally. Wouldn't even focus on a court. But then he has been able to brush aside some of those criticism and focus on what lies ahead of him. And now this is where he's gotten to. So I think the only fear, for players like Jack Draper, for players like, Taylor Fritz, for players like Francis Tiafoe, is Yannick Sinner, who is the world #1 as it is right now. But don't get me wrong, anything can still happen because we've seen some, shocker in this year's U.S. Open. We saw the player that is even not a seeded player, beating a player that is ranked world #3. That is to tell you how far, of what we are expecting. Even the defending champion in the women category was knocked out early in the competition by a player relatively unknown. So these are some of the trickery and some of the magics and the turntable that we expect to see at this stage of the competition. And of course, when you know that this competition has gotten to this stage, nobody is ready to back down. Every player out there will want to fight with the last drop of their blood to ensure that they make it count, because this is the last Grand Slam of the year, and every player wants to finish very strong. Yannick Sinner has something already to show for this season because he won the French Australian Open against Novak Djokovic. He has maintained the world #1 ranking for a quite long time. He doesn't have anything to lose. Even at this point, even if he bows out of the competition, he's holding his head very high because he's giving a good account of himself for the season. But for players like Francis Taylor Fritz, Jack Draper, who has not made any significant, proof or effort so far towards some of these major championship, I think they want to also use this as a last fight to ensure that at least they finish on a very strong note for the season.
All right, take a look at the female category as well. It says the likes of Jessica Pegula, and then of course you have Carolina Muchova. You also have Emma Navarro, of course, heading down, of course, to the finals of this particular semi-final of this one. And I don't know what you make of it. What #1 have been hosted out, Michael, by Jessica Pegula?
No surprise for me. No surprise. World #1 being hosted out by Jessica Pegula. You need to also watch the training regimen of Jessica Pegula in the last 3 days rather. I think she has been up and doing. She actually prepared for this very one, knowing that she was facing a very tough opponent. She got to go back and watch some of the clips of her opponent and was able to capitalize on some of his opponent, her opponent disadvantage out there and make it. She made it count out there on the court. So for me, I think it was an impressive one and a big congratulations for Jessica Pegula. Let's hope that she can possibly get to the final, and win this very one, because I'm dropping support for her because she's my lady.
Arina Sabalenka on the way, and you think it will be an easy one for Jessica Pegula?
It's going to be a clash of titans. Arina Sabalenka against Jessica Pegula. It's going to be a big match, I tell you. But I'm expecting Jessica Pegula, to at least make that one count.
Let's see how it goes, of course. So keep our fingers crossed and see how the results, of course, unfold in the US Open. I'll take a short break now. We'll come back from the break, almost straight to the beautiful world of football. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network, and of course it's time for me to bring you the latest from the beautiful world of football. Michael, let's start with the Nigerian Premier Football League because the transfer window in the Nigerian Premier Football League comes to an end today. I don't know what you make of the deals being done by some teams in the NPFL.
I think deals for Nigerian clubs right here in the NPFL sometimes it's just some sort of funny because of the way we go about our deals here. Most of the deals is always shrouded in secrecy, and it could be very difficult for you to ascertain how much Nigerian Premier Football League clubs spend per each season for players transfer. Just the way it is being done in a Senna climb. Every season they now articulate the number of deals done and the number of deals that players was brought in and the number of players that left. They cross-check all this and put the statistics and record very clear that you can assess it even in thousands years to come, in donkeys of years to come, you can assess it. But the Nigerian Premier Football League, I know we are still learning. But how long should we continue to learn? Even the small basic things, because of the advancement of technology that have come in. You know, we should also maximize, take advantage of this technology and make good use of it, so that we begin to document our histories, so that our children to come will also get to know what happens in this era. You know, so if the technology has not been there, I will not say, I will just say, okay, we don't need to blame Nigerian Premier Football League, because you know, it will take them maybe more like millions of foolscap sheet to start penning down those things.
Why is it that the deals are being hidden? Why is it that they are not being disclosed? What could be the reason? Is it that the media officers of the team are not doing enough, or the media department? Because we understand each MPFL team has a media department. Is it that they don't know these things? What could be the reason?
For me, I don't think that they don't know these things. It's just that some of our club administrators, most time the way they do their deal, they do it very professionally unprofessional. In the sense that they know this is how much a player was bought. This is how much they should, you know, give to the public out there. You know, but then they will just hide it because of the kind of shady deal that they wrap up with some of these players. Some players are just eager, you know, to play football and make a little ends meet for themselves. So they don't even bother going through the record, maybe sit with your lawyer for your lawyer to properly digest such a contract terms and conditions. Just because you want to play football, you want to make a name, boom, you just go. You start playing without signing proper document or contract, you know, issue with the club. So the club, most time, they will take advantage. They take advantage of these players unknowingly, before the player could get that stability and reckoning to say, oh, this is what I should have been. This is what I should have done when I signed for this club. It will be already late, and that is why you see some of the players packing their bags and baggages, eloping the club side to go look for greener pasture. That is why you hear sometimes club will begin to announce that their player is missing. You know, before you know it, we will say that we find some at Israel where he is going for trial for a player that still have a running contract with a club.
Yeah.
So it's a big challenge. Okay, just last 48 or 24 hours, Aqua United signed 17 players. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 till 17 players.
And we don't know the contracts each of those players signed.
That is a big problem.
How many years are they staying? Are they staying for 2 years, 3 years?
Yes, that is another big question. Then not even about bringing in 17 new players. How much were these players bought for? What is the contract terms and conditions? And what happened to the previous 23 players? Did they just ship them away and bring in a fresh 17 players? How do you think that the team can gel? So there's a whole lot of, you know, lacuna, like my Leonard, you know, colleague will always say. There's a whole lot of loopholes, you know, in our league that we need to cover. Times of, and then again, I think it should also be stipulated in the extant laws that govern the league. The NPFL board authority, they should make it as a mandate that as a club side, you need to pen down, make it official, the contract terms, condition of a player that you sign, so that they can be able to know when to come in. Because sometimes we heard in the past that the player had an issue with the club side because the club side had refused to pay him, you know, for his salary for about 12 months. Club, I don't want to mention name here, to the court of arbitration for sport, CAS, and that case went in his favor. He was actually paid some of his salary. In fact, all of his salary. What about, was it 13 million or something thereabout? So for me, I think it is something we need to start institutionalizing. That before you sign a player, you must make it official. These things are not a secret court where you say you don't want to make it public. And most of the clubs here, out of the 20 clubs we have in the Nigerian Premier Football, most of this club is owned or sponsored by the state government. So where did I get money to fund or front these clubs? It is from the taxpayers' money. Therefore, the people deserve to know how their money is being spent. You don't need to shroud them in secrecy, because, you know, we need to ask questions where our taxpayers' money is going. How have we been using the money? But if you are hiding everything, if you are concealing it, then how can the people ask questions? You know, so it's a big challenge, it's a big issue, and one that we need to take a very quick action in order to address these anomalies.
You know, let's talk about Aqua United. You mentioned them. 17 players they signed this season. Baba Ganaru came in last season and was able to help them survive relegation. Bringing 17 players, new players entirely, and they're about to start the league. I don't know, do you see them putting up a very impressive performance within those new set of players?
It's a big, challenge, because I don't know how Baba Ganaru is going to imprint his philosophy.
I think some of these players who need time to adapt.
Yep. I don't know when he's going to imprint his philosophy upon these players for, you know, a league that have kicked off.
Yeah.
We are not about to. The league kicked off. We saw the first match last weekend where Enugu Rangers played host to Academy Warrior at the Cathedral out there. So the league has officially started, and you are bringing in new 17 players. How do you want to go about translating your philosophy into these players? Don't forget, some of these players were brought in from Benin Republic and outside the shores of the country.
Yeah.
These are players that have not mastered the Nigerian Premier Football League. Even if they had played in the Nigerian Premier Football League before, is it the same club? It's a different club. Each club have their own philosophy and idea. You need time to settle. You are bringing foreign players, and the league has started. You are bringing 17 players. Man, how do you want to gel the team before you start, competing for the title? So it's a big challenge, which I think most clubs are here, because it's not just Aqua United that is also caught in this web of bringing in enormous players, 10 players, 17 players, 15 players, letting go of 20, letting go of 17. How do you want to build a team that will compete favorably well for the title? The backlash that Chelsea are getting today is because of the fact that their transfer policy has been, has been very, very abysmal. Where you get to recruit about 40-something players per season. How do you want to blend these players? And that is why the coach is having an issue with some of the players. And the coach came in, he has a different idea. You say, you don't fit into my philosophy. You don't fit into it's time for you to leave. I want to work with 22 players. And it brings a whole lot of disunity and destabilization among the teams out there. So for me, I think it's not a good idea from Aqua United.
Not a good idea at all. We'll see how, of course, they'll be able to cope this time in the Nigerian Premier Football League. But, Michael, there's another development that the president of the Nigerian Football Federation, Ibrahim Musa Gusau, is saying that there will be an introduction of the video assistant referee in the Nigerian Premier Football League. You think the league is ready for the VAR?
No, I do not think so. We still have a long way to go. Don't forget, we need, specialists in terms of the manpower that can be able to handle these VR machines. You don't just wake up one day just because you're a ref, you want to go and control the VAR. No, you need time for them to go through training, rigorous training and retraining, for them to gain mastery of how to use the VAR before we can say that we are ready for it. But then, of course, I understand the line of thought or action of Ibrahim Gusau, because even CAF have made it very clear just after the conclusion of the African Cup of Nations that club side leagues here in Africa, they should start deploying, making the use of VAR, because time will come when you will not be allowed, to take part in any CAF organized competition if your leagues are not, properly equipped with VAR, tools and apparatus. So for me, I think as it is right now, we must start from somewhere. But I tell you, that may be a next year agenda or idea, not for this season, because if you want to start it this season, they should have started the training and retraining of the official that is going to, deploy or that is going to use this VAR. So for me, for now, this season, I don't think we are ready for it.
All right, let's see how it goes. I'll look forward to see what comes up with this particular one. This is the Nigerian Premier Football League ready for the video assistant referee. I'll keep our fingers crossed and see how Ibrahim Musa Gusau, the president of the Nigerian Football Federation, will go about this particular hour. But Michael, what do you make of its Super Eagles camp bubbling at the moment? Victor Osimhen, we hear, is in the country about to join his teammates in Uyo. I don't know what you make of it. Super Eagles camp, are they preparing for the encounter against Benin Republic?
Yeah, a very impressive one. I think I saw the hard work of the Super Eagles players in camp 2 days ago, and even yesterday evening when they had their last training session. I think it's been good. I heard Simon Moses speaking just 2 hours or an hour ago when he was telling the press out there that they've been able to blend very well. They find it very easy to blend with Austin Eguavoa. According to him, he said that they understand Austin Eguavoa, and Austin Eguavoa as well understand them, and that is very, very commendable, because when you're having, this kind of understanding between players and, coaches, it makes the job even easier for the coach out there, because they truly know what the coach wants. He passed an instruction once, and everybody will adhere to that instruction, because you are working in tandem with the same goal and aspiration of the coach, and the players as well will be ready to give their all. So for me, I think very, very positive one. And from the signs that I've seen from their training so far, I tell you, the boys are ready to go. Victor Osimhen just breezed into town, but he has not linked up, with the team in their camp either. But we hope that possibly this evening, maybe the last training session for this evening, which have kick-started as we speak. They are on their training ground right now. Maybe Victor Osimhen, maybe we'll get to see him this evening or even tomorrow morning joining them on the training session. But I tell you, it's going to be a massive one. But I will advise the coach, Austin Eguavoa, that Victor Osimhen should be rested. He should be kept on the bench on Saturday. Rather, Victor Boniface should stand on the attacking position, because Victor Osimhen, as it is, he has gone through a lot mentally. For me, if I were to be him, I will bench him in the first game. Possibly bring him on, maybe later 70-something minutes, so that he need a proper level. Maybe in the second game against Rwanda, he might start. That is just my thinking as it is.
I'm talking about Victor Osimhen, very stressed mentally. We saw him, I think that was yesterday, in a very impressive, unveiling down there at Galatasaray with, of course, his trademark mask. Was a very, of course, impressive one. What do you make of him at Galatasaray at this point in time? We understand Galatasaray, one of the titles they are aiming at is the Europa League. Can Victor Osimhen deliver for Galatasaray?
Very, very possible. I think Victor Osimhen, he has the quality and everything that it takes to deliver on the big stage out there. And he has given his words to the Galatasaray fans who are already in love with Victor Osimhen. He said that he's going to bang in the goals. And for a man who truly wants to more like revive or put his career back on track after going through a lot in the hands of Napoli, he will be ready to fire from all cylinders. And for me, he said before he came to Galatasaray, it did not take him long to make his decision, because he had contacts with, he had some discussion with...
Because he didn't have any other option?
No. I don't think so. He said that he had, discussion with Henry Onyekuru, who was former Galatasaray player and his senior teammate in the national team. Then again, for Idris Metis, his former teammate at Napoli as well, who also, they got talking, and at least the course was clear from what he had from those two people that were close to him, and that is why he made it very easy for him to, choose Galatasaray. So as it is, I think Victor Osimhen, having, relaxed right now as it is from all of this, trouble, I think he has what it takes to deliver at the big stage for Galatasaray.
Ademola Lookman, nominated for the 2024 Ballon d'Or. Michael, does this stand a chance?
Well, realistically speaking, I truly do not see him winning this one, honestly speaking. But then, I would have been very, very happy if he can win it. But looking at other nominees and their performances for their different club side and for their, country as well, you may say that Lookman Ademola might not have a chance against players like Dani Carvajal, who did pretty well for the Spanish national team. You know, they just concluded Euro, also did well for the Champions League as well. In fact, scored one of the goals in the Champions League final. Then again, won the La Liga with Real Madrid. Not also forget Bellingham was very instrumental as well, winning the double for La Liga, for the La Liga giant, talking about Real Madrid. Also did well for the English national team. Can mention but a few of the nominees. Vinicius Jr. also there, Kylian Mbappe, Rodri. These are players who did extremely well. They were very instrumental helping their club side and even their national team to excel, you know, in different capacity. Lukman Ademola did pretty well as well for the national team, for the Super Eagles in the African Cup of Nations. Scored, you know, vital goals as well. One of the highest scorer in the just concluded African Cup of Nations. Also took his form to Atalanta, where he did pretty well, scoring that hat-trick in the final against Bayern Leverkusen, who never, you know, had lost any game in the course of that period. In fact, this same Bayern Leverkusen rubbish Liverpool, you know, and they're on their way to the final. But Lukman Ademola just teared Bayern Leverkusen apart as though, you know, they are not a very strong team. He made it look very easy. So for me, I think he did pretty